Innovative businesses see every day as an opportunity to create something new. Dell Technologies advisors are here with tools and expertise to help you do incredible things. Because Dell Technologies believes there's an innovator in all of us. Learn more about smart PCs powered by the Intel vPro platform that's built for business. Find tech that's right for you by calling a Dell Technologies advisor at 877-ASK-DELL.
It's time for the B-A-Q-A-A, the B-A-Q-A. What you say? The B-A-Q-A with Mandi, the B-A-Q-A with Tiffany, the B-A-Q-A-A. Welcome to Brown Ambition. Question and answers. You have questions. We have some answers. Although we're not your mama, your cousin, your financial advisor, or your lawyer, but we are two very smart, brilliant, dare I say, brown girls who know a little thing about career, money, personal finances, you know what I'm saying? Entrepreneurship. So, we're here to answer some questions.
Well, it's the dead of winter. It's the dead of winter, so I don't know if I still fit in the brown category.
Oh,
I'm so pale.
you're brown in spirit.
Yeah. Anyway, we have some lovely questions. If you guys want to be have your questions answered on the show, just slide into our DMs on IG. We're at Brown Ambition Podcast, or you can email us brownambitionpodcast@gmail.com. Yeah, so let's get into it. Our first question comes from Taylor, who says, I just got engaged and I'm looking for advice on how to start planning financially. We currently live together and split our household bills 50-50. Depends on the season and if we use the AC or not. Okay. Con Ed is crazy. We take turns getting groceries for the house, although I shop a bit more since I'm working in the office and don't always pack a lunch. We make just about the same amount of money and have kept our finances separate. I'm planning to do premarital counseling with my fiance and wonder if financials will be brought up in those convos. We both have trauma around a parent abusing household finances. I know I prefer to keep all household bills in one bucket and the rest separate. How do you all start to share finances with partners? Were there any strategies you employed to start saving for a wedding? Do you have recommendations on the best or easiest joint accounts? Ally keeps popping up. Thanks for any insights you can provide. Y'all are the bomb.
Ooh, first of all, congrats, Tay-Tay.
It's wedding. Yeah, it's engagement season. Congrats. Oh my goodness. This takes me back.
Yes.
To early
How'd you start?
How
did you introduce combining finances with husband?
Too soon. I was in my, I had just, when we met in 2014, I had been a few years into my career as a personal finance journalist. Poor husband, or Enrique at the time. Cause I was kind of preachy. I was very preachy. I used to really put people off, my friends and family. Cause I'd be like, what you should do is, I'm just like a Hermione. I just know it all and I want everyone to know. And I had a good place. I was coming from I wanted to, help, but I hadn't yet learned how to wait for them to ask me for help. But I remember before moving in together, which we moved in together less than a year after dating, I think, just because rent, leases in New York kind of rush you into decisions sooner than you may otherwise rush. But we had dinner and I broached the subject of our finances at that dinner. And it was fine. We talked about splitting rent 50-50. We talked about how much do you earn? Here's what I earn. And also moving in together, we talked about, is this a long-term, do you see a future with me? I didn't want to live with him if he didn't think he'd one day marry me. Bless his heart. I would say around that time, I just got more feisty. I was like, show me your credit score. I want to see your credit score. Why don't you show me your credit score? And I think it was more I think he might have just shown me or told me if I hadn't been so much we must find, if you don't show me, you don't trust me, you don't love me. I was just a little extra. So yeah, I had my ups and downs early in our relationship, kind of talking about finances. We did do premarital counseling, but finances didn't come up. I think you're going to have to bring that up yourselves, as a topic that you want to work on. Set the intention of, in therapy, this will be one of the things we talk about. We more talked about I don't even remember. God, honestly, I think it was premarital counseling is fine, but I almost feel don't forget about that when you get year 5, 6, 7, you need more counseling. So we started counseling again just earlier this year. But yeah, that was that was our early arguments about it were around me just being a little too intense.
Yo, Mandi, there's a reason why we are friends, because that
Was it
mirrors
you
my
too?
story almost to the T, including the credit score. He was like, I don't know. I was like, let's sign up for Credit Karma right now.
Like, give me your laptop. And he's
Girl,
like, "The
literally, I did that. Girl, it's
Oh,
a
my
miracle
goodness.
that they put up with the foolishness. Anyway,
Yeah.
So to Mandy's point, I was also aggressive and very annoying. I was just like with my family and friends, same. I was like, girl, I know the things. Now I don't do that much. I was like, because also there was just a lot of things that I knew that he didn't know. So for example, he had gotten a secured card and he was like, oh, they told me to run it up and just pay a little bit a month. And I was like, who told you that? The people who are charging you interest? No. Mm-hmm. I was like, pay it off in full. Do you have the money? It was maybe like $400 or $500. He said, yeah. He paid it off. Credit score jumped over 100 points because he didn't have much credit history. So when you don't have a ton of credit history, one really great decision can make a huge impact because your credit history is an average of your choices. So if you only have 2 grades, 1A will make a B and A, And so what we started to do though is, so I had to learn because my aggressive ways were not working. I remember he used to call me Budgetnista Bully. He's like, if anybody only knew you are Budgetnista Bully.
Everyone else thinks we're so nice, but partners though.
He was like, the world needs to know. I was like, whatever. But I learned that my bullying ways were actually not working. So I learned to find what I used to call the common denominator, like something that we both agreed upon without any push. So in the beginning, I noticed that like the easiest common denominator for Jarrell and I was Alyssa, my bonus starter. That like if he spent money on something I thought was frivolous, I'm like, oh, that's fine. But we also put money aside for Alyssa, right? And he would, because there's never a time that he would ever say, I'd rather the sneakers than put something aside for Alyssa. So he'd be like, ooh, you're right. And so that's in the beginning to kind of loosen him up to make financial choices that, quite honestly, I thought were the right ones.
That you wanted him to make.
Yes, that I would like, I would like the common denominator when it was like, there's never any pushback when it comes to Alyssa. And then I added a new one because I was traveling and he'd be like, oh, I want to, travel with you. And I'd be like, oh, okay, well, I'm going to open up this online only savings account and you can open up a separate one, which he did. And when I put money away for savings, you should too. So that way the next trip we go on, we can go together. So there's never pushback on vacation. And so I did that, quite honestly, for a long time before I was able to broach other things like, I think your car note is too high. Maybe we should surrender the car. I think we should start saving for a wedding. I think we should start saving for a house. By the time we bought this house that I live in now, we were able to pay for it cash because it was like 50% off because it was a foreclosure. We had gotten to a really great space where we were on the same page financially because we had started with those common denominators and then learned to discuss what are our other goals and what do we need to do to reach it, And so I learned to change my tone, not to be such a budgetista bully. And he learned to be open to say, oh, this is for the betterment of both of us. So I don't know what Mandi does now, but when Jarrell was here, we had an ours. And we had our each other's. So I had my own checking. I had my own savings. He had his own checking. He had his own savings. And then we jointly had joint checking, joint savings. The checking account was like the bills account for the house. So like we both contributed. He largely contributed to the bills account. And then I largely more contributed to our joint savings account, because he had this thing where he's like, I want to pay the bills. And I said, okay. So there wasn't a ton left over for savings, but that's where I contributed the most. And so those are some of the choices. So I'll give you an example too. Like I made significantly more than Jarrell. To be candid, he never made over $60,000 a year. And, I can bring home 7 figures. And so there's a big discrepancy, and we talked about how do we navigate that? Because sometimes, for many men, and I understand it can be a hard thing for the ego to swallow. His biggest thing was, I don't want to live off of what you bring in, Tiffany. I want to be able to maintain our lifestyle with what I bring in. And so
it's really smart, honestly.
Yes, it is, honestly. And I love that about it because he could have easily been like, girl, when can I retire? So what we did, for example, for the house was at first we were looking at homes to get mortgages. But honestly, what his income could cover, it wasn't the kind of house that I wanted to live in. and a neighborhood I wanted to live in. So we found this house. It was a foreclosure and it was like perfect with the savings that we joint saved, where I did my most contributing. I had the $180,000 there. We used it to buy the house. So now there's no mortgage, but his income could cover taxes, insurance, utilities. You see what I mean? So it's like he still got to pay the bills, but in a way that preserved what I wanted, which is this beautiful home in this nice neighborhood, but it preserved, I pay the bills and I can maintain our lifestyle, And so those are the types of conversations that you want to start to have. Like, where do you want to live? We each got our own allowance and we could have spent it however we wanted because I know we were both contributing to the household. We each had our own savings. You could do what you wanted because as long as the bills were paid and then the joint savings was saved, that excess money is yours to do what you want with. So I learned to leave him alone when it came to that. So those are some of the things that we did. And, hopefully that'll be helpful. It's going to be just a constant conversation. You guys should be talking about money always. Something that Mandi actually introduced me to. Mandi, when you started working with Helen, I didn't have a financial advisor at the time. And you said that Helen helped you kind of like be a tiebreaker, like you and husband, And so I suggest that too, finding a financial advisor that you're meeting with, especially in the beginning regularly, because they will help to walk through your goals and how do you reach them together. And that way he feels he's heard and you feel like you're heard too.
Yeah, absolutely. And it just basically like he listens to her and to me, even though she's saying what I could say, but obviously she has way more training than I do as a financial planner. But yeah, I that's kind of what I was getting at too with premarital counseling. Like they're not going to be able to give you the financial advice, but they can help you learn how to approach it if it becomes like this really, you mentioned both having trauma, financial trauma in the past. So like if it's really tough to even get the conversation started, maybe it's good to start in a premarital counseling and then work your way up to like getting a financial planner. And then, but I would just say like, you'll find the system that works for you. For us, it is one joint, like household expense account and one joint savings. And then we have our separate accounts where we, have money for whatever we want to buy. She asked any strategies you employed to start saving for a wedding. Yeah. We moved in with his parents and I had never been earning more in my career. I think I was about to take a job making like, $40K more than what I was earning at the time. And for some reason I snapped and I'm like, we have to save all this extra money. Like, I don't want to, just get a nicer apartment. We moved in with his parents into a tiny apartment way in Inwood, Upper Manhattan, and gave up our lovely 2-bedroom apartment in Queens and basically lived off of, we were able to save the majority of our income, which helped. You don't have to go that drastic, but I was hell bent on not having debt for my wedding. And I was also hell bent on having a gorgeous wedding. So if you both want that, it's easier to make that decision together. We both really wanted a nice wedding. So I think it was easier for him to say yes to my crazy idea.
No, that was smart,
we lasted like 6 or 8 months there, I think. We saved like $12,000. It was nice.
Yeah, no, that's a good idea.
We had to get out of there.
Same thing like Mandi. We lived really simply. Like Jarrell was a super for housing and we lived basically on campus. I mean, it was we had a townhouse, but rent was, because he worked there, it was severely discounted to like $900 a month, $920. And so we lived there and we saved and we both agreed. And this is not something you have to do, but we would both agree. Cause I got married at 37. So I didn't necessarily want like a big old wedding. And so we decided, do we want to spend this money on a wedding or do we want to set aside to purchase a home together? And so we said, let's have a simple wedding. So we did Justice of the Peace. A friend of mine has this really nice restaurant that she closed down, Vonda, for us. And Mandi was there. And so we just that's what we did. My mom was distraught, of course, because I'm Nigerian. And how dare I not have an extravagant, ignorant wedding.
It was my favorite Nigerian wedding. It lasted. Well, it wasn't even a wedding. It was just a reception.
I loved it. Honestly, it was the best. My friend Andrea, she made my dress. She's like some famous wedding dress designer. She won making the cut on with Heidi Klum and Tim Gunn. But she was big then too. Pantora Bridal. She made my dress and gifted it to me. My friend JP did our video for free. Honestly, it was I don't think I spent $2,000, including Alyssa's dress, Jarrell's clothes from Banana Republic, everything, the photos. But it was beautiful because after it was said and done, we purchased I wouldn't have had the money to purchase the home cash. I didn't know at the time that this house was going to come up. But not only did we purchase the home cash, we paid off my student loan debt, $50,000, and we were able to pay off my parents' house, $120,000. And so for us, it was like, and for all partnered people, you have to decide what's your desired outcome jointly as well as individually and make the decision from there. So to Mandi's point, like, you know, if you can reduce how you're living, however that looks, and set aside. Right now, Citizens Bank, I don't work with them or anything, but because Ally I think is like 3.3. So I moved my money from Ally to Citizens Bank as 3.7. So like, you know,
rates are going up.
Yes.
But like joint bank accounts, you just want to be sure they're really easy and simple to connect your external accounts to, especially if like, unless you're both going to move all your stuff to that one bank account, which would be easier. But like Enrique has a bank account that I don't have, and I have my personal one with Ally, and then we have the joint. So as long as you can do auto transfers, that has worked for us. It took a while, but I was like, dude, automatically transfer money into Ally each month so that I know we'll have enough to like get daycare covered and stuff like that. But yeah, if for your savings, for sure, I would just choose the bank with the highest interest rate. Because you want that to be easy to get to, but not too easy to get to. But yeah, good luck on this journey. And congratulations, Taylor, on your engagement.
Keep up with us. We love to hear, because child, you know, we old, I was gonna say we're old married couple, married ladies now, but I'm like, I don't know. Do I still feel married?
You're a rich auntie.
I know, I am a rich auntie. The first time someone said like, oh, you're not married anymore, I was like, oh, shut up. But now I'm just like, now I'm like, well, I'm a rich auntie.
You guys were together so long. Like, you can't just, you know, look at your relationship as the years you were married, you know?
Yes.
You guys had a storybook romance.
It's always storybook when someone's like, honestly, it was pretty awesome. But yes, I am a rich auntie now. So we'll say that. But yes, keep asking your questions. Bring them on in. We have one. Well, we're going to take a break, right, Mandra?
Yeah, take a little break and come back with one more question.
Yes.
So we'll see you in a little bit. Hey, BA fam, it's Mandi Money here, aka Mandra. Listen, y'all, I want this to be the year when you finally learn how to be the badass negotiator that you have always wanted to be, whether you are plucking up your courage and trying to ask for a raise where you currently work, or you are ready to negotiate a damn good, juicy offer from a new job. I am here for you. I have got a 5-step signature salary negotiation strategy that I only teach in my free virtual Nail Your Negotiation masterclass. I've got one coming up in just a couple of weeks. You can sign up and save your spot at nailyournegotiation.com. That's nailyournegotiation.com. I can't wait to see y'all there. Hey, BA fam, this message is sponsored by Discover. Did you know you could reduce the number of unwanted calls and emails with online privacy protection, the latest innovation from Discover? Discover will help regularly remove your personal info, like your name and address, from 10 popular people search websites that could sell your data. And they'll do it for free. Activate in the Discover app. See terms and learn more at discover.com/online privacy protection.
And we're back. We have a question. Oh, her name is Tiffany. Girl, I like that name. Hey, girl. Hey, ladies. I'm a huge fan of your podcast. You all need a show, like seriously. Okay. I have a fairly simple question. However, it's so hard for me to get by it. How do I find funding to start my business? I'm 27 and have no savings, and I want to flip properties, but I have no money to start. Please help. Okay.
How do you squeeze blood from a stone?
I don't know if you've ever heard. Well, have you ever heard of house hacking, Mandra?
Yeah, but I need a refresher.
So house hacking, young Tiffany. I love this, 27. Oh, you're so fresh and full of life. So house hacking is when you live in a house, ideally like a multifamily house, let someone else pay the rent, and then save from that place. So like, you're saving on you not having to pay rent. Someone else is paying the mortgage for you. And then you use that money or you could even pull out money from that property to purchase the next property. And so
that's exactly what producer Imani is doing right now.
Exactly. And so I would, like the thing about purchasing a home is that you can use something called leverage. Like leverage comes from the word lever, and a lever is like a doorknob. So you think about this small little doorknob could open this big old door. How is that? Right? So the same thing with the way, when you leverage your money in real estate, you don't have to come up with the full amount. Like I have purchased my properties, some of them cash, but you don't need to do that. You can literally leverage by, putting down, giving an FHA loan, putting down 3.5%. So you don't have to put down the full 500,000 or 200,000, whatever, maybe 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, which means you do have to save something. And then you use that leverage to purchase an asset that is much greater than what you initially invested. Patience, maybe you fix it up while you're there, do a little something to it, find yourself someone who's going to rent. And then, after a couple of years, you're able to pull out some money from that property, as well as hopefully you've saved some of that rent money you're getting to then purchase the next thing. And so that's what I would suggest for you to start. There's some great, resources. So, I don't know if they're all United Way still do this, but some of them, you might want to look at your local United Way. Oftentimes they have something called an IDA program, an individual development account program. This is a program where you take like a series of classes, and the United Way has partnered with a bank, and some banks just do this on their own. So you can look for individual development account programs at different banks. And then they will pledge, if you put a certain amount of money in, and you take these courses or classes, they will then grant to you money like in multiples. So if you put up 500, they might say, for every 500 you put up, we will, multiply times 4. That's what the IDA program that I used to teach. So literally when I was working at the United Way, people took my course. If they saved up to $500, at the end of the course, they got $2,000, which is great. Mm-hmm. And so look for IDA programs. Another thing, there's NACA, NACA, love NACA. The neighborhood, I forget what it stands for, but NACA, yeah, right? It's this nonprofit organization that helps new homeowners purchase homes. So you can get a multifamily, I think up to 4 families with NACA, and NACA will typically help you lock in a much lower interest rate than any place else. And they commit for you to have no down payment. They really help with no down payment, help with closing costs, and you get a lower interest rate than what's out there. And so look for NACA programs. Also, too, I would just consider, you need to start taking, these free first-time home buyers courses to understand the home buying process in general. What is it, what is insurance going to look like? What is that going to look like?
Property taxes.
Yes. But also, too, how do you get in a mortgage? Also, too, you're going to want to connect with realtors in the area that you're considering purchasing, because oftentimes realtors will have their ear to the street, like, oh, you know what? M&T Bank has a $20,000 grant. This bank has, there are grants all over. And so I would say for the next, honestly, year to inundate myself with taking these courses, meeting with realtors, reaching out to banks to see if they have any grant programs, doing your research. And if you do that, before I start flipping, I would house hack and maybe consider doing some renting until I can get some money up to do the thing that you're wanting to do.
Yeah, I'm curious because she says she wants to save up money for her business, which I'm assuming is the house flipping. Should people who are thinking, I feel like house hacking, you buy the home under your own name and then rent it out. But if you're wanting to then get into home flipping, do you get a business entity like an LLC and then you purchase under that entity? Or are people out there flipping houses just as themselves?
I mean, ideally you should definitely get an entity because you want to be protected. Anytime you have a business, yes, including that kind of business. For someone who's never flipped before, I suggest hacking first because it's basically a slow flip. You get someplace hopefully undervalued. Maybe you need some new toilets, blah, blah, blah. You're living there and fixing it up while you live there and learning, oh, don't work with that contractor. He's a thief. Oh, that's a really good painter. You're starting to build your team while you're house hacking. So when you finally get the money together, then, and you have a team together, then you can consider flipping. I do not suggest flipping right off the bat unless you're partnered with an experienced flipper. And you're kind of working side by side because you can do that too. Oftentimes these flippers have no admin assistance. They're a mess. So you might want to look for a flipper and offer your services to keep them organized so you can learn on the job. That's something you can consider too.
And like start inundating, like Tiffany said, inundating, I forget what you said, with education around, the homeownership process. I'd also recommend like following blogs or TikToks from people who are doing the thing that you want to be doing and just learning from their experience. I know blogs are so 2004, but I remember Paula Pant from Afford Anything. She used to do this in Atlanta, and I would read her blog, and she was like very transparent about fixing up homes and living in them and renting them out and that whole process. And anyway, she has a podcast called Afford Anything. Also Bigger Pockets, I feel like, is more real estate investor focused. Yep. So maybe add those to rotation with Brown Ambition as well, and give yourself time, because it's not something you want to jump into. Yeah. So I like that Tiff's like house hack and make it a slow flip, because you're learning and all of that and saving.
And join these. There's like a ton of like Facebook groups. So you can kind of sit back and like listen and learn, because I like one of my friends, Christina, she flips homes in St. Louis, and they do meetups all over the country where they just talk to each other. They share information. So you really want to consider, like, as I said, inundate for the next year. Just inundate yourself with, I'm part of this group. I joined this meetup. I'm ready for my first house hack, before you really start to it's a very expensive process. So the more education you can have, because you're going to make mistakes and they're going to be pricey, but they can be reduced in price, if you take the time for education. So good luck to you, Tiffany.
That's Tiffany on Tiffany, y'all, for BAQA. All right, BA fam. Again, if you want to submit your questions, you can hit us up at IG. On IG, we're at Brown Ambition Podcast. Oh, brownambitionpodcast@gmail.com. If you want to email us, or just head to our website, brownambitionpodcast.com. And contact us. But until next week.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.
Hey, BA fam. We're on YouTube. Woohoo! Thank you so much for watching. Please like this video and subscribe to the channel.
And while you're at it, why don't you go over to that little bell icon and just tap that for us. Show the BA fam how much you love us. And that way you'll also get notifications when new videos drop. Also, share the channel with a friend. We're always like, tell a friend, tell a friend, tell a friend. And thank y'all so much again for all the support.